Okay. For people who don't know me, I'm Suzanne Davis, and my tutoring business is really academic writing coaching. So I help people with their academic writing, also with personal statements and scholarship essays. So I was drawn to blogging because I felt like, well, if I write a lot, this got to be easy, right? And then I discovered that my writing style, I had to rethink, I had to relearn. But because it's a craft like any other piece of writing and I had to learn it, that really kept me more and more interested and intrigued.
So before you started blogging, what were some of the fears that you guys experienced? I know, Suzanne, you talk about this a lot, some of those fears. What were some of the fears that you had?
That nobody would want to read me or read me was, I would say, the biggest thing. And in the beginning, to be honest, that was really hard to get people to read me. I remember begging, relatives and things like that. Hey, I just wrote this new blog post. And, I'm sure they really wanted to read about, how to learn academic vocabulary. So yeah, that was definitely a fear. And I carried that for a couple of months until I started feeling like, oh, wait, people are reading this and I'm able to get these out.
I think the other thing too that kind of comes on up a lot of times is people saying like, I'm not really a writer. Did all of you guys kind of feel like a writer from the beginning? Like you felt like that was definitely your strength?
Well, part of it's my childhood because way back when I was in third grade, I had a teacher who said I couldn't write. And I'd never be able to write. I'd never go to college and all of those things. And so I heard comments like that from other teachers through the years. And the way I coped was I felt like me writing is an act of rebellion. Like, oh, you tell me I can't do that. Guess what? I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. So that helped getting through there. And then in college, everything changed. I had somebody who really encouraged me in academic writing, and that changed. So I felt like, great, I'm a great academic writer. And I still feel really confident about academic writing. But then blogging came around and I felt like, ooh, I'm not sure I'm going to be good at this type of writing because it's very different. I mean, I like learning different crafts, and different genres of writing. But when you've been a little successful in one area, you're kind of a little more fearful to go into another area because you're like, ooh, I've got to learn this all over again. And am I going to be as good? So yeah, I've always kind of wrestled with the I'm not a good writer syndrome, despite teaching it as an academic writing. Yes. And I've gotten a lot of schools, classrooms, teachers that link back to me. Like the one blog post, some student writes me and she's like, can I have permission to cite this blog post and what you've written here? And I'm like, okay, and then I know, okay, I really hit my target audience there. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I've gotten found by people finding me on Pinterest directly, or finding me on Pinterest and then, putting me in the classroom. Like I think a lot of Google Classroom accounts would keep linking back to me. I suddenly wound up with like one blog post with like 200 and some backlinks.
Wow.
Like,
nice.
Where does that come from? And, there's all these ones from different schools. So that was a way that I got found. And I write very readable blog posts. I don't try and sound like an academic. And those are the ones that teachers were sending people to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's your ideal client, and that's beautiful because if you were to have just approached that teacher in the classroom and said, hey, so I'm doing some writing tutoring for any of your kids that struggle, would you suggest me? It would be a very awkward experience for everybody. right?
Exactly.
But if they are finding value in your content and sharing that with their students, and even more eyeballs are getting on it, then it's kind of like a back door into what it is that you do and how you can help.
Exactly. You can make a huge difference writing one blog post and publishing it, because years later, somebody else might read that and that might change their whole writing, so it's always out there, and it always has the power to change people's lives. I love that about writing, and you can really feel that and see it in blogging.
Yeah, yeah. How else would you describe it, Suzanne, as you talk about the difference between the mastermind and the course?
Well, I definitely would say the course takes you through like beginning to end, like what you need to know. From how do you find topics to how do you promote your blog, right? So it's all of that. Plus, it has that blogging challenge, which one of the cool things here is that Justine was one of the winners of the challenge last time. So that's different because people are writing together, they're keeping track of their words, and they're trying to reach a certain goal, right? And while I do some teaching with the blogging mastermind, it's never that beginning to end. It's maybe like, here, let's focus on a particular area. And then it's also the accountability. Like, okay, hey, what are you doing? How are you working on your blog? What have you accomplished, and that piece of it. So I would say it's very different, although I probably have a similar approach in both of these.
I know you give away like a free planner too for people to plan out their content that they're going to write, so that the last thing in the world that they're sitting there and wondering is, what do I write about? They always know what they're going to write about because they have already brainstormed and have all those ideas down. So that is another bonus that's added inside of there. And great question just came in from Facebook. Are there live calls or is it just videos? It is both. So you get the video support, which, by the way, because things online change a lot, the course actually changes each time too. So Suzanne actually goes through and she revamps the course every single time to make sure that everything that's taught in that course is relevant today. And then she has the live calls as well. And how many weeks is it?
It's 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yes, it's 6 weeks, but the challenge is 30 days. Yep. So there's like 2 extra weeks that help you really with when you finish the challenge, kind of getting it to that I'm going to publish and share it. Yeah. Right. So that works out really well. And yes, I always do want to do the live calls because things do change. One example is like when I first started, the words that you needed, like the minimum word count was like 700 to 1,000. And that has changed over time. Right. And so different things that I taught as far as like where you can be putting your places, where you can be posting your blog posts to get found. I used to have a bigger Pinterest focus. But that changed as Pinterest changed. Right. So that's why I always do those live calls.
Mm-hmm. I love that it's got both components too. I feel like when it comes to supporting people with writing, nothing is more supportive than getting a group of people together to actually be a part of that writing process and take a look at the writing and all of those kinds of things. So, and the accountability too, because it's really easy to say that we're going to write and then not write. Really easy. It is really easy to put it off.
I like the challenge because I think people prove themselves wrong. They prove that they can write more than they ever thought they could, and just accomplish these blog posts, right? And I love that. It's not me saying, hey, you can do this just through me. They prove it to themselves. By winning the challenge. And most people who take the course actually win the challenge.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That always surprises me. I'm like, Again, like almost everybody like made that goal and they achieved it. That's so incredible. I think they even end up surprising themselves as well that
Yeah.
they were able to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's really really awesome. Now,